Hello and welcome into this week's edition of RNN Talks right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me tonight. If this is your first time watching a Racing News Now video, welcome. On this channel, we discuss lots of motorsports. Right now, we cover NASCAR, ARCA, IndyCar, and Formula One. Eventually, that scope will broaden, but for now, those are the series that we cover. And here on RNN Talks, we generally break down news and make predictions for the upcoming weekend. This actually, though, will be the final episode of RNN Talks as we're shuffling the show lineup a bit here in May, making it a little more intuitive and a little more informative for you. So instead of RNN Talks going forward, starting next week, we will have individual preview shows for each race. So in terms of next weekend, that would be 2 preview shows. We'll have one for NASCAR for the trucks and the All-Star race, and one for ARCA in Toledo. But for this weekend, we are still doing it in the RNN Talks format. I don't have any news-related items for you this week. Not a lot has been really happening this week of a lot of note. On that aspect going forward, instead of just once a week recapping the big news items here on RNN Talks, we'll do individual RNN news break segments throughout the week. Just whenever something big happens, we'll make a video for you that day and break down exactly what is happening. So just an effort to make things more timely and to bring coverage better to you. So, like I said, all we have for this week are predictions, so we'll go ahead and get into those now. We have 4 races this weekend, 2 NASCAR races, IndyCar and Formula One are also in action. We'll start off with the NASCAR stuff as the truck race is on Friday night. From Kansas, it's the 18th annual 37 Kind Days 250. From the Kansas Speedway. And as we've been doing the last couple weeks, we'll look down through this entry list and mark off any notable names that you might want to know about that aren't necessarily running a full season but are in this race, or maybe bounce around between different cars. So we'll start at the top. Joey Gase is in the 0 once again this week. That's second truck for Jennifer Jo Cobb Racing. Kyle Busch is back in the trucks this week. He will be in the 4 truck. John Hunter Nemechek is back in the 8 truck for Nemco this week. Bubba Wallace will be in the 20 truck this weekend for Young's Motorsports. On the entry list, it does say Tyler Young. So I'm guessing that's a late addition, because I have seen reports around that Bubba Wallace will be in the 20 truck this weekend. So that must be a late change for them. Let's see here. Brandon Jones will be in the 51 this week for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Bo Lamastus will be in that 54 truck for DGR Crosley this week. We've seen him in a couple of ARCA races so far this season. And Joe Nemechek moves back to the 87 truck this weekend, as John Hunter will be in the 8. So that is your entry list for this week's 37 Kind Days 250 Camping World Truck Series event from the Kansas Speedway. So, prediction for a winner, and I think you know where I'm going to go with this. This is the obvious pick. I glaze over the obvious pick all the time, and it ends up biting me almost every time that I do it. So, we're just going to do it. Kyle Busch wins the 37 Kind Days 250 at Kansas Speedway this week. You can't bet against Kyle Busch in the trucks. You just can't. As much as people love to hate on that, you can't. There's no way around it. If Kyle Busch is in a truck race, he is probably going to win it, and if he doesn't win it, he's definitely going to be a contender for the win. So Kyle Busch wins the 37 Kind Days 250 from the Kansas Speedway this Friday night. So now we will move on to Saturday night from Kansas. That is the KC Masterpiece 400 at the Kansas Speedway. And we will do the same thing here. Look down through this entry list, and we will tell you Any notables that happen to be in this field? The biggest glaring one right now, Matt Kenseth is in that 6 car. This is his first race back for Roush Fenway Racing. Again, he'll be piloting that number 6 Wyndham Rewards Ford Fusion. I don't know that there are actually any other notables this week. Everything is pretty status quo. BJ McLeod will be in the 51 for Rick Ware Racing. Corey LaJoie in the 72 again this week. And Derek Cope is back in that second Starcom Racing number 99 car. So, 8th Annual KC Masterpiece 400. We are going to say Eric Almirola wins this week. He has a very good history at the Kansas Speedway. Almost always put those Richard Petty Motorsports cars up front when he was in that 43. Now he's got a car that is contending consistently for top 15s, top 10s, top 5s. He's been consistently up there all this year. This is a track he's very good at. I think Eric Almirola gets his first victory in that 10 car on Saturday night from the Kansas Speedway in the KC Masterpiece 400. All right, so it is the month of May, and we have IndyCar action this weekend, so you know what that means. No, it's not the Indianapolis 500. We're still a couple weeks from that, but it is the other Indianapolis race in the month of May, the Indianapolis Grand Prix, the road course race from IMS. So, given that it's a road course race, that automatically shortens your list of guys that I think are your real contenders in this race. That being said, I think I'm going to somewhat go out on a limb here and pick a little bit unconventional of a pick here. Not somebody you would have really thought of definitely before this season as a winner on a road course or a street course for that matter. But he has just been lighting it up this year on the road and street courses. That, of course, is Robert Wickens. I think he gets his first win this weekend in the Indianapolis Grand Prix. He's been fast basically everywhere they've gone this year. And just for one reason or another has not been able to pick up that first win yet. Should have had it the first week of the season in St. Pete. Still, though, searching for that first IndyCar win. I think he gets it this weekend in the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Robert Wickens wins at IMS this weekend. All right, so now for the other open-wheel race of the weekend, Formula One in Spain on Sunday morning, if you're here in the United States, 9:10 a.m. start time in the Eastern time zone. You can adjust that for whatever time zone you're in. Formula One has been rather difficult to pick this season. As soon as you think Sebastian Vettel is going to go off and win basically every race, he's had a couple stumbles the last couple weeks. Red Bull has been very back and forth. They've had a decent amount of speed when they can finish the race, but it's a matter of Red Bull finishing the race. And then you've got your you got Vettel and Raikkonen, who have been fast, but you don't really know what they're going to do. Then you got the Mercedes of Hamilton and Bottas. That Hamilton's not had a lot of speed this year, and Bottas has just been kind of status quo for what he has been in the past. It's hard to really nail down someone who you can say is an actual favorite. Even guys that have been really good on certain tracks in the past. That being said, I think the win a couple weeks ago for Lewis Hamilton in Baku might just be the kickstart he needed for this season. I think Lewis Hamilton goes back-to-back this weekend and wins in Spain, picks up 2 in a row, and extends that points lead over Vettel. So, Lewis Hamilton wins the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend. And that is your predictions for this weekend. Like I said, that's all I got for you tonight, really. As next week we are moving away from RNN Talks and moving into more focused race previews for each race, each weekend, more or less. So, I'm excited about that, and we're going to start doing more actual race recaps. We'll still have pole position on Mondays, but we're going to do more things like what we did a couple weeks ago with This Week in ARCA when we recapped Talladega. We're going to do more like that with the other races going forward, and then pole position will be kind of your, if you don't necessarily want to watch a full in-depth recap, pole position from here on out is going to be your more condensed, here's who won, top 10, quick look at points, whatever, in and out. Pole position, we're going to shoot for no longer than 10 or 15 minutes going forward, and then we really break things down in the actual race recaps. So, that's what we're looking at going forward. If you're excited, hit that big thumbs up button on this video. It's much appreciated when you do. It just helps us and supports us going forward. And if you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing from Racing News Now. As you can tell, we're going to have a lot going forward, and things are just going to keep getting better and better here on Racing News Now. I'm excited. I hope you are too. And if you haven't done it already, it's not required by any means, but we really appreciate it when you support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/racingnewsnow. It just helps us continue to grow and get better and give you quality content far into the future. So with that, this has been the final RNN Talks. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.